back to my channel. I am Jay, the Juju Bay, aka Black Libran Goddess. And no, you are not. Your eyes are not deceiving you. I am on camera. I usually avoid the camera because I have to do stuff like wrap my hair up and wear makeup. I'm not wearing makeup now. I don't really care, honestly. But what I wanted to do is record a video because, well, I was going to actually record some tarot videos for the new month, and I just didn't have the energy for it. So I'm probably going to record that later on in either this week or early next week and set it up for to either play out throughout the week. So some things I just want to put out. First, I want to just really trying to change the direction of my channel. I wanted to like have a lot of content for you guys to just kind of like run through whatever, but I that's not really who I am. That's not really my style. I wanted to make sure that whatever I give to you guys, whatever I bring to you guys, is necessary for for building, healing, and grounding. I hope you guys can see me well because I'm trying to avoid looking because I'm using my computer camera, but it's like the way my computer is set up is like here on one of my speakers instead of up front where it would normally be. So I'm trying to look here when I speak. But anyway, so yeah, so I'm instead of just like posting videos every once a week like I do, I'll just post whenever I feel a need where a video is important. Like today, I'm just making a video that I had sit and thought about for a couple of days. And what really inspired this video was I was talking to my cousin, and she was going through some things, which of course I won't tell you about. And I mentioned to her about ancestral veneration. And because I am, like, if you guys follow me on my social medias, and especially my IG, I won't shut the hell up about ancestral veneration. I will never shut the hell up about ancestral veneration. I think it's extremely important. But usually I speak about it and I just kind of like let it go. But I decided I really need. It's really important. You can't just say something and then expect people to know what it is. So, for this series, and yes, I'm gonna try to make this series where I talk about certain things. And so this series is called "Let's Talk About Ancestral Veneration." And what I want to do is just do a quick, short video, minus this little introduction, where we talk about what ancestral veneration exactly is. So there are gonna be 4 points that we discuss in this video. So one is what it is. Two, what it isn't. Three is um, why is it's important. And four is how do we do it. And if you see me looking down, it's because I took some notes down here to keep my mind focused. So yeah, let's just get into it. So number one, what is it? So when we're talking about ancestral veneration, I think it's important to define what the word veneration means. And the word means it's great respect or reverence, and reverence means deep respect for someone or something. So ancestral veneration just means that. It just means showing deep respect for our ancestors, for those that came before us. Specifically the ones who because we have your family is huge and large and vast, long ancestral lines. All of us have them. So there are so many people that are in your ancestral family. Like, ancestors are always those who have deceased, right? So, so they're not like if your sister is alive, she's not an ancestor. But if she passed, she is. And even younger people become ancestors. So if it's a small child that passed on, they too become an ancestor because they have moved on to the spiritual realm from the physical. So that's what ancestral veneration is. It's just showing great deep respect, reverence, and love for those that have come before us. What it isn't is worship. And let me explain what the word worship means. Worship is the belief, what was it? The feeling, can I read my handwriting? The feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity. And that's the important distinction. Because both definitions for veneration or worship include the word reverence. And again, reverence just means deep respect for someone or something. But the difference between your ancestors and worship is that your ancestors are human, they're human spirits, and worship is worship of a deity or deities. So ancestral worship is not ancestral veneration, excuse me, it's not ancestral worship. We do not worship our ancestors, right? We give them love, we give them thanks, we give them respect, we thank them for the things they've done before us, for the path they forged before us. But there's a difference between them and the gods or gods, if you believe in God, whatever. You ancestral veneration does not require a religion. So you can do it if you're atheist. You can do it if you're spiritual but not part of a set religion. You can do it if you are a part of a set religion. So yeah, you can be Christian and engage in ancestral veneration because it's just remembering those who came before you. Is very important, which is the next one. It's very important, and I wrote down some points here, and there's probably more than just what I've written down. But these are the points that for me in this I'm still about a year, but it's actually been like maybe less so since I've been actively venerating my ancestors. And some of the reasons why it's important is because it connects us to our legacy and our lineage. Like I said, we are part of long legacies, long lines, and what's really important is because it reminds us that we're not alone. That's another point. It reminds us of where we've come from and where, like, you didn't just start where you are, basically. So even if I've never been to Africa, but my ancestors are from Africa, obviously. Not all of them. I have indigenous ancestors as well, and I have European ancestors, but I don't venerate the European ancestors because if you want to know how European ancestors got into my black indigenous body, that's how. Well, black, I'm very particular of claiming indigenous eyes simply because of a lot of things, but indigenous people exist across the globe, so yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so for me, even though I've never been to Africa, don't even really know what country, what nation, what tribe, what ethnic group that I've come from. For me, ancestral veneration is a good way for me to connect to those part of myself that initially felt lost, right? Ever since I've done ancestral veneration, I feel a lot more complete in myself. There's still many questions I want to know, many things I want to learn, and that is something that ancestral veneration has encouraged me to move forward more to do. But for me, it's really connecting to those part of selves that I felt lost or disconnected to, or even because there's been some bullshit from people, you know, saying that if you're not, trying to disconnect you from your different parts of your heritage, and not get into that because that's not really what this video is about. But this, it allows me to connect to those part of myself that have been forgotten through, through the slave trade, or that I have been denied through any other type of term. So that's where I really important. It connects us to those long parts of ourselves, those parts of ourselves that we have either felt disconnected from or forgotten of. It reminds us that we're not alone. It reminds us that our trials. It reminds us of the trials and sacrifices that those who come before us endured for us to be here. It's really important because you ever heard the phrase "I'm not my ancestors"? People. It's been said because, it's like, oh, my ancestors would have just sit back and take this, but I'm not my ancestors. Oh, pause. Okay, sorry. This is a phone call from someone I don't know. I don't answer numbers I don't recognize. So anyway, you have people who say this kind of stuff, and it's very ignorant because your ancestors been through a lot that you don't even know about, and they've endured a lot, and they put up with a lot just because so that they can make it home, so they can raise whoever's now your lineage, so that you can be here being ungrateful, saying that you're not your ancestors. Like, honestly, you are not, because if you were your ancestors, you would have a little bit more respect. Let's be honest. But, but I just really don't like that phrase, and I said what I said about it. But like, yeah, so it really reminds us of, it's ancestral veneration is a good way to show and pay respect and gratitude for the sacrifices that are made for us to be here. Anything from having to endure Jim Crow laws, racism, anti-immigrant sentiments, whatever they've been through. It's a good way for you to say, I know what you've been through, I recognize what you've been through, and I am eternally grateful for the things you've been through, because you've gone through those things have brought me here to this place where I can be here, and I don't have to necessarily go through those exact same things, even though may have my own struggles in my own life. We can learn from them. This is another important thing. Connecting with your ancestors is a good way to learn. Like, again, going through those trials and struggles, they've learned a lot of lessons, and they've learned a lot of things, and some of it you can they can help you avoid some mishaps, some side steps. You know, connecting with them is a good way. It's a good way to learn. Like, again, if you practice, like I practice hoodoo, so it's a good way to learn some hoodoo root works. It's a good way to learn about your own family history. It's a good way to learn about a lot of things when you connect with them. They can guide and protect you due to living in a spiritual plane. So, on the spiritual side of things, there is more. You have the ability to see more than you would in the physical plane. I can only see and know and experience what I know right here in the now. So, but the spiritual plane exists in a different way, in a different manner. So, our ancestors are spirits, and they can lead and guide us. And again, that's how we learn from all this stuff. Kind of really goes in together. You know, there's so much that we can get from ancestral veneration. It's such a good, wonderful, amazing practice to get into the habit of engaging in. So, which brings us to our last question: how to do it, right? So you talk. So we know what ancestral veneration is. We know what it isn't, and we know why it's important. But so now you're like, okay, okay, Jay, I get you, girl. So how do I how do I get into this stuff? How do I venerate my ancestors? So there are some ways to do it, and one of the ways you can do it is build an altar. Now, don't let the word altar scare you. People hear the word altar and they tremble, they run, especially if you grew up in a religious household. If we're talking about like Christianity, I'm not going to talk about any religions because I grew up in a Christian household, so I'm going to only talk about Christianity. But if you grew up in a Christian home or grew up in any type of really strict religious home, the word altar, even though you have things like, I grew up in Church of God in Christ, Kojic, so we have things like altar calls. So, you know, the word altar outside of the church, it gives people great pause because, you know, they think of devil worship and witchcraft and all this, and they go, it's evil, evil, evil. That's not what an altar. That's not what it is. That's not even what an altar is. An altar is a place where you can come and it's really just a place where you come and you sit and you can spend some time and commune with your deities, with your spirits, with your ancestors. And I'm every time I point over here, look this way, it's because my altar is over here. My ancestral altar is over here. And now I won't show you on camera. I don't show. Only people I ever show pictures of it are close friends and the family that comes into my room who do seen it. I only ever show them if they're interested in ancestral veneration, just to show them what an altar will look like, and they're all different. But really, an altar is just a place where you invite your ancestors into your place, and you invite them a place to sit here, and it's just a great place to sit and commune with their ancestors. You can have them in I have mine on top of my dresser here. You can put them in a box. You can, you know, if you're not if you can't really have the space, if you don't have the space, or if you still live with people who are not as open-minded, you can like put them in a trunk or a box or somewhere where it can be just for you to engage with. For altars, you need the elements of the earth, so air, fire, water, and earth. So you need those four components. Your fire will come from a candle. I use tea light candles, and they're just like these little small ones. Most people use the those large 7 day ones so they can keep burning and they don't have to replace it. It's really up to you. Tea light candles for me, I started using these because they were actually cheaper. I could get more of them. The larger candles, yeah, they lasted for 3 to 4 days, but they were really expensive to get. And, you know, my ancestors don't want me to be broke. So I was like, I'm going to have to use this. I hope you guys don't mind. And the good thing is they didn't. I use this and I have a selenite candle holder that I bless and charge, and every time I cleanse my altar, I recharge it again and re-bless it again, and it exemplifies, because I love crystals, I use them there, so it exemplifies the power of my the fire and the connection with my ancestors. You need water, so a glass of water. Some people use a bowl of water. Doesn't matter. For the air, incense is good. Keep incense is good. Just keep burning, and plus incense smells good. I recommend frankincense, because frankincense is one of the best smells, or nang champa if you want that. I hope I'm saying that right. It sounds like I can say it when I read it, but if I say it right, it always comes out wrong. Nagchampa. And you can get incense from anywhere. I got my incense from Walmart. They're like 94 cents for like a $40 pack and something like that. Like even my incense holder I got was like $2 at the most. You don't have to go broke for anything. Again, you don't have to if you found yourself spending like thousands of dollars for just a simple basic altar. I'm not going to say you're doing it wrong. I'm just going to say it doesn't have to be that expensive because the purpose of it is just to be a place where you connect with your ancestors. So you can literally grab things. I got crystals that I bought, but you could also like uh grab leaves from outside your yard, especially if you have like ancestors that like to garden or something. Um, if they usually have a garden at their house or something like that, uh, grab the garden, grab stuff from the garden that they have, and things like that. So it's air, earth, earth. Yeah, earth would be crystals, rocks, flowers, water. Did I say all? Air, fire. Yeah, I said all of them. Um, but also as you grow in your relationship with your ancestors, you'll put in more things on your altar, like you can do, which is another step of libations, which is food, alcohol, or coffee, which like I have on my altar too. I used to refill my coffee every day, but now I do it every 2 to 3 days. I refill my cup of water every week. Also, for the candles, I forgot to mention, white candles are the best because white candles are spiritual and they connect us, and they're good for connecting. And each candle, different candles have different meanings. So if you do candle work, you know that each color means certain things. Like green means money, black means protection, and banishment. So they all mean different type of color. So I recommend white candles for your altar. Tea light candles are good. They're small. Get ones that burn for like 6 to 7 hours, so you don't have to be refilling them every so often. Um, I mean they're good for me if you have a small space. If not, then you can get you one of those like the Dollar Tree. I went to the Dollar Tree the other day. They have like one of these long, um, like I guess 12 hours, maybe or a day or two candles for $1. You can get those or whatever. Yeah, tablecloth is nice. I just now recently got a tablecloth on mine. So yeah, as you grow, there'll be more things, and I have some information on my Tumblr, and I'll try to make sure to remember to put links for things, anything that I forget to say. So links to my Tumblr it talks about ancestral veneration, and some links to some good blogs and some good podcasts about ancestral veneration, so you guys can look it up and read about it. Just feel comfortable whatever you want to do. Um, yeah, but it's altar is a really good place to start. There are also different ways you can make an altar too, which is another thing that remember to make a list to put in the link of different ways to have an altar, especially for because altars have to be maintained, and if you don't have the energy or the time to maintain an altar, there could be oh, I'm sorry, has some coins that I was scraping. I'm sorry. So there'll be different types of suggestions and changes for that. So libations are also a good way. So you can also do libations without having an altar. So you know how we pour one out. You know, black people, you feel me? So you know how you pour one out. That's giving libations, where you pour out some water or you pour out some alcohol. You pour it out in remembrance to someone before you take a bite. Also, could do the same thing with food. You can put food on your altar if you have it, or you can also while you're eating your food, like if you just say your prayer for your food, also say add to that end of that prayer, it's like, and to my ancestors I eat this food in the remembrance of my ancestors in the hope of feeding their spirits, or something along the lines, whatever feels comfortable for you. You can also set a separate plate aside or a piece of your food aside untouched in remembrance of your ancestors. You can do things like everyday practices for your ancestors. That's the really good thing about ancestral veneration, is that it's is there's really no wrong way to do it. Well, there might be some wrong ways to do it. Let me back up. 'Cause when I say that, I mean, because like, okay, so when you call on your ancestors, and this is what I say, but this is some variation of this. I call on my ancestors of love and light, who wish me good and not harm. Right? So you call, so when you're saying of love and light, you're calling forth your ancestors who mean good for you, who wants good for you, who wishes you good for you, who's going to help and navigate you. If you are a person of the LGBT community like I am, it's good to call forth people who are also of your family line, who are also queer or non-binary or something. And if you don't think you have any members of your family, I'm here to tell you, you absolutely do. Your legacy is far too long and far too extensive for you to be the only one who is not straight or not cis. Like, it really is. You're not the only one. And like, gender identities and gender and binaries in the way that they have existed now hasn't always existed, and cultures have existed way beyond, way before colonization has told us that there's only two genders and only one sexuality. So you have people in your lineage that you can connect with. But yeah, so calling on those people, that's good. Like, that's how I do light my candle and say that when I say it every morning when I refill my candle. And it's good because it's what you're doing, because your spirits, your ancestors were human. So like all humans, not all of them are, mean the best for you. You have some that they're just kind of like bad people, just calling it out. So you can say you have the power to decide what kind of relationship you want and with who. So that's why I always encourage people to say love and light, wish me good and not harm, and always say that you honor them. And add more as you get more comfortable with it. You'll get more comfortable with how you talk, how you speak, how you engage with them. And there's different ways in which they will communicate with you. It all depends on who you are and how you connect. So what works for the goose ain't gonna work for the gander. So what works for me ain't gonna work for you. We were talking about communicating with them. So like, how they communicate with me ain't gonna be the same way they communicate with you. And even how they communicate with me won't be the same way they communicate with someone else in my family. So it's all different. But yeah, so your everyday practices also are good ways to do it. Like also good ways to do ancestral veneration. Outside of your altar, your libations are a good part of everyday practices, but also like wearing a hat that your favorite uncle or someone wore, cooking an old family recipe, sharing stories with people, sharing videos and pictures, which is another thing that you put on your altar. I have pictures of my grandparents and my father on my altar. Um, all those certain things, those little small things that you like, those are things that you probably do every day without even knowing it, which is why I say again, ancestral veneration isn't a bad thing or isn't an evil thing, because they're your ancestors. They may not have been perfect people, because human beings aren't perfect, but they're not evil, they're not evil entities. So so you're probably doing stuff to venerate them anyway without even knowing it. But this is about being intentional and being active in your veneration, right? Intentionally engaging in communication with them, intentionally engaging in this practice with them. So intentionally giving them venerating them, giving them their honor and their respect, which is different from being like, oh yeah, I cooked my favorite grandmother's meal, and being like, I'm cooking this meal because I'm doing this in remembrance of my grandmother, this and that. It's her birthday, so I'm cooking her favorite thing. Some things like that. So that's all I have right now. This video is actually pretty short, so I'm actually proud of myself because y'all know me. So that's all I have right now for ancestral veneration. If I have anything else to talk about, again, like I said, I'm going to put some links down in the video, and you guys can look those up, and hopefully they'll help you lead you until this practice. And I really hope this has been helpful. I really hope this has encouraged you guys. And if you want to drop a comment, if you already do ancestral veneration, let me know. Comment. Let's talk about it. And you can also follow me, of course, on my socials at blacklibrangoddess. I'm on Twitter, IG, and Tumblr. And shoot me some love. And once again, I thank you guys for watching. And y'all stay blessed now. Bye.